Hi, do you know what a co founder's agreement is? If you are starting a new venture with co founders, this is one of the most important documents you will ever draft. It outlines the understanding between co founders about the startup and protects their rights. For lawyers, drafting these agreements is an amazing opportunity to build trust, credibility, and long term relationships with entrepreneurs, especially those at the early stages who often cannot afford full time legal support. And here is a tip: working with international startups can pay decently well. Let's dive into how to draft a solid co founders agreement. Let's set the stage. Imagine Captain Marvel and Wanda Maximoff, fresh Stanford graduates, want to launch a startup called Project Infinite Energy. It will create self defense technologies for nuclear attacks and generate clean energy for global needs. They're ready to go but need a co founders agreement. What clauses should this agreement include? Let's explore the essential ones to make it airtight and ensure their venture is protected. Clause 1: Nature of business. Co founders often clash over the direction of the business. To avoid this, outline the scope of the venture clearly. For example, the co founders are commencing a business to explore self defense technologies and clean energy solutions. The scope may evolve by mutual agreement. Optional additions like restricting offensive technology development can reduce future conflicts. When drafting, always think ahead. What can go wrong? How can the agreement prevent it? This is what makes a contract watertight and builds your credibility as a lawyer. Clause 2: Ownership. Who owns what? For example, if Marvel and Wanda each hold 40% and Tony Stark holds 20% in exchange for $200,000 funding and mentorship, you could write Marvel 40%, Wanda 40%, and Tony Stark 20% contingent on his funding and advice over 4 years. Ownership clauses should balance contributions and prevent misunderstandings. Whether it's equal or varied shares, clarity is key. Clause 3: Commitment. For how long and how intensely will co founders work on the venture? Example: co founders commit full time for 4 years. They may work part time up to 40 hours a month until the business generates enough revenue for salaries but cannot engage in competing activities. This clause aligns expectations and ensures focus. Consider adding specifics about volunteering, writing, or other non competing activities to avoid ambiguity. Clause 4: Vesting. What happens if a co founder leaves early? Let's say Wanda joins Google 2 years in. How do you ensure fairness for Marvel, who's staying? Add a vesting clause, such as ownership vests annually over 4 years, 25% each year. If a co founder leaves early, they retain only vested shares. The stake of each co founder in the business shall vest pro rata on an annual basis until the minimum commitment period of 4 years is completed, as follows. Right on your screen, you see a table. If a co founder leaves or is fired or dies before expiry of the minimum commitment period, he or she shall only retain the amount of ownership interest that has vested until then. This protects the startup while rewarding co founders proportionately for their time. Clause 5: Intellectual property. Who owns the IP created during the venture? Example: each co founder assigns all intellectual property created for the business to the company. They cannot use this IP for personal or external purposes. This ensures that the startup, not individual founders, owns critical assets, avoiding future disputes. Clause 6: Decision making and meetings. How will decisions be made and how often will co founders meet? Example: co founders meet at least quarterly and can call additional meetings as needed. Key decisions like admitting a new co founder, raising funds, or obtaining a loan require unanimous consent. By setting clear rules, you prevent decision making bottlenecks while keeping everyone aligned. Clause 7: Dispute resolution. What happens if conflicts arise? Example, all disputes will be resolved through arbitration under the rules of the American Arbitration Association governed by California law. A simple dispute resolution clause saves time, money, and relationships by avoiding prolonged legal battles. Do you want to see a real co founders agreement? Check out this, for example. The link to this is again pasted in the description box of this video. You can check it out. Additional clauses you can include are admission of new co founders, non compete agreements, performance goals, and consequences of non performance. Drafting these agreements effectively can lead to other assignments like shareholder or partnership agreements. The opportunities are just endless. Do you want to learn more about drafting co founders agreements and other critical startup contracts? Join our free 3-day bootcamp for detailed guidance. It's a live online event, 9 hours of interactive learning spread across 3 days starting this weekend. No recordings will be available, so set a reminder now. We'll see you there.